Today I'm going to demonstrate a really simple, non-destructive technique for burning and dodging an image. The terms burning and dodging go back to the days of wet lab photography, when a photographer would work in a darkroom and manipulate an image by adding more light to or subtracting light from certain areas of an image to make them brighter or darker to make your image have more visual impact. We'll do the same thing in Photoshop. Very simply, first we need to launch the image. The easy way to do it most of the time is just drag it down onto the Photoshop icon. If you double click it, very often it brings it up in preview, and that's not going to do you any good. So once you've got the image in Photoshop, we're ready to begin. I'm going to go ahead and press the letter F to center my image on the screen and put it up against a gray background, and I need to press Tab to bring up my palettes. Once I've got my image ready, I'm going to locate the create a new layer icon down here, hold down the option key, click to create a new layer, and I will get this dialog box. When you work on images with a lot of different layers, you need to be able to identify them quickly. It's a good idea to go ahead and name your layers. So we'll name this one Burn and Dodge. I need to change my blending mode to overlay and then click fill with overlay neutral color. Click OK and we're ready to begin burning and dodging. I need to have my foreground background color set correctly. Right now my foreground color is white, background color is black. I'm going to reverse those, and I'm going to start with burning first. With the black selected as my foreground color, I'll go up here to my brush tool, click up here to select a larger brush, or use my in bracket keys, which will allow me to increase or decrease the size of my brush really quickly. It's also important that you look here that your brush is set to a very soft setting, probably 20% or below. In this case, I'm going to stick with 0. That's going to give it a nice soft edge to what I'm trying to do here. And with that done, and my opacity set probably down to 10%, I can begin to just darken the corner of this image a little bit, and probably darken her scarf some so that maybe it looks a little bit more like the other side here. Now honestly, this picture really doesn't need a lot of work. It's just the one that I had available. But you can see the difference here. I'll do Command Z. A little bit lighter, a little bit darker, before and after. Alright, so that's burning, using black as my foreground and my brush tool. In order to dodge or lighten an area, I need my white selected as my foreground. Again, I'm going to use my brush tool, but this would be quite a bit too large. Use my in brackets to make my brush smaller, and I'm going to zoom in so that I can see her eye a little bit better. It's always a good idea to maximize the image area that you're working on so that you can really see what you're doing, especially on small details like this. I'll go back to my brush tool, a little bit too large yet. Make it a little smaller. And I want to make sure my opacity is set down a little bit. And now when I go across her eye, rather than making it darker like we did earlier, it's going to lighten this area of her eye. Now, you might not be able to tell so much, but there's before and there's after, before and after. You don't want to go crazy with these kind of corrections, especially on somebody's eye, because they start to look really zombie-like. Let's just do that with both of these. Yeah, a little bit much, right? So in order to get that corrected, zoom back in, go back to your brush tool, change your opacity back down to something that's reasonable. Let's try 15%. And just lighten the area. And all that's going to do is make her eyes pop a little bit more, but not quite so much that it's scary. By the way, if you want, you can go back here to your history layer as long as it's open and walk your way back to undo what you've done. And if we want it, we go back and lighten and darken these areas again correctly. I'm not going to zoom in. Notice I'm leaving the darker band around the outer part of her iris alone. And there you go. That's how you do it. That's a simple, non-destructive burning and dodging technique.